Alright everyone, welcome to the basics of Command Workstation. I'm going to be covering version 6 in this tutorial. So what I'm going to be covering is just the general layout of Command Workstation version 6, as well as going through the Properties tab, making a preset, and then covering a little bit into the Device Center, which is going to be some of the a little bit more advanced settings that you can do, but we will cover making server presets as well as what it looks like if we wanted to add papers to our paper catalog from Command Workstation directly. So when you first connect your Fiery device to Command Workstation, this is the screen that you'll see. So this is your jobs screen. So on the left here, you have your Fiery server that you're connected to, which is going to show you both your held, printed, archived, and then your other queues for what's being printed, what's completed right now. And then in the center here of our held queue, for example, this is just holding jobs that I've processed to my Fiery and saved here. If a job is processed with the orange color here, it's going to save in the held queue indefinitely. If it's just spooled and I print it, it's going to delete it out and move it to the printed queue, which holds 50 prints. So if a job is processed, you will also have the ability to get a preview of what your file is going to look like printed. And if it's spooled, you have the ability to edit using any of the additional add-ons to Fiery Command Workstation, such as Impose, Compose, JobMaster, etc. You have the ability to import jobs from your computer. So if you have a PDF file saved, for example, you have the ability to import that directly in, and you can apply any presets you have to it as well. So if it's a common run job, you don't have to go in and create those properties every time you run a job, as well as the ability to calibrate directly from the screen using an ES2000 or other similar calibration device, and that will launch a wizard that walks you through step by step on how to calibrate. On the left here, you have your three different main windows of Home, Jobs, and Applications. So let's go ahead and click into Home here, and what this is going to do is give you a breakdown of your servers. So if you are running a shop with multiple servers, you have the ability to see what each of them is doing from here, as well as get some stats on printing for the week. It isn't very often that customers are going to be going in here, but it's nice to know that this exists. And then if we go back into our Windows tab here, we have the ability to see installed applications, so you can know exactly what a customer has installed, or if we're looking to add any other packages that they have licenses to. So we're going to go back to our jobs window, and what you'll see here is we're going to right click on a job to bring up a drop down menu. So when we right click on it, we're going to get a drop down menu that looks something like this. And at the top here, you'll have your printing options as well as other options that you want to do with the job specifically. And what we're going to do is click into the Properties window here. So when your Properties tab first opens up, you're going to have access to the Quick Access screen. This screen is 100% customizable to however the customer wants. So you have a Customize button here in the top right that allows you to both remove and add different settings to the screen. So for example, if a customer did not want the punch unit and didn't have it, they have no need for punching on this screen, so you can just remove it so it doesn't take up unnecessary space on the screen. Or if they wanted to add media options or other duplex options, finishing options, they can add that onto here so they can directly run everything auto quick access without having to go into different tabs if they would like to only operate out of one tab. So typically users that aren't super in depth with Fiery and are just kind of using this as a day-to-day printer, as well as in conjunction to like a marketing department or something like that, they typically like to have this customized out with what they're going to use, so that way they don't have to go into different menus to find exactly what they're looking for. And if we do dive into different menus here, so for example, we're going to go into this media tab here, we do get a larger breakdown than we would in quick access. So on the top here, we can define all of our core media settings here. So if we have a paper catalog set up, we can use that to fill in these settings for us automatically by just picking a name paper. Otherwise, we can choose our weight and size. And then down at the bottom here, you have mixed media. So this is where you can set exceptions to your rule that you set at the top. So if you want to add a cover to a document, or let's say that you have a book in spreads and you want a gloss center cover or center page for the photos on it or something like that, we can add that here, as well as adding tabs or blank pages if we need to. If we go into layout, we are going to have our usual culprits here in normal of scale, duplex, all of the things that you're used to seeing, orientation, override. But what is nice in the layout tab is this booklet window here. And what this has is a breakdown of how to make a booklet in Fiery. So at the top here, you have a wizard that you can launch. It's going to take you through these bottom settings step by step with pictures, so you know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, you can follow through at the bottom once you get comfortable. It does get a little faster than going through the launch wizard to make a book this way. But for starting out, and definitely for making a first-time book, the wizard is very nice. Your paper size is actually going to autofill itself based on the media you set. So if you're printing on 11 by 17, it's going to know 11 by 17 already. And it's just going to automatically fit to that sheet size. And then on the bottom, you have the ability to choose how you want to print on your cover. So if you want to print on both the inside and outside of your book cover, you have the ability to do that, as well as the ability to define what media that paper goes on, or that cover goes on, if you choose to have a different thicker stock or gloss stock for the outside cover of your book. Let's move on to color here. So at the top, you have just your normal CMYK grayscale, and then on the bottom here, you have color input. So this is going to give us the ability to, one, choose if we have spot colors that we want the Fiery system to recognize, as well as choose any color inputs. So if your customers are working out of InDesign or any color critical software, they have the ability to set these working spaces. So you can have the printer, if they embed it, to automatically pick that up. So if they have customers sending things in to them with embedded profiles, rather than having to choose how the customer expected it to work, they can just use the embedded profiles and run everything that way. Or they have the ability to set them themselves just to match better to what the intended output is going to look like. And then lastly, let's move into finishing here. So under finishing, you have at the top how you want your output to deliver. So if we want it to be face up or face down, the only reason that you're really ever changing these is if you're running thicker paper, so like 360 GSM. That isn't going to be able to duplex out of a 5200, for example, so it's going to want to face up. Normal order for output on this, so that way it doesn't have to duplex it to do face down. You also have the ability to choose how you want to shift your job. So if you wanted to not collate between different jobs, or if you wanted to, you can set that here. At the bottom, you have some more finishing options. So you have your fold, staple, punch. Fold is more for if you're using a multi-fold unit. If you have a booklet finisher on there, you have the ability to use a half fold, but you can definitely set in the staple for just 2 at center, and that will also do a half fold if it's a 1 page. Otherwise, 2 at center is the one for your book, and all the other staple options that you'll see in there are pretty common, of top left, top right, 2 at left, 2 at right. So feel free to use those however you want, but 2 at center is mainly the big one for booklets that people get tripped up on. And then lastly, you have punch. If there's a GBC punch unit, you'll see a multi-punch on there. Otherwise, you'll have 2 3-hole punch, and you can choose left or right for punch on how you want to do it. And then lastly, you have a summary tab, which will give you a breakdown of everything we just went over. So what's nice is in Command Workstation, you can select multiple jobs, so you can get a breakdown of summary of all of them. So if it's 2 jobs that are typically the same and something went wrong on one, you can see exactly what you changed differently on it to correct that. And then once we have all of our settings done, we have the ability to click presets up here, which is going to give us the ability to save a local preset if we're saving from directly in the properties tab here. So as you can see, I don't have any local presets saved on here. I have server presets, which we will cover, and those are made in the device center. So you'll go through the same steps we had, we'll just be doing it in the device center to save it as a server preset. And the benefit of a server preset is that it's going to go to everyone that ties to that EFI server. So that way you don't have multiple workstations creating the same presets over and over again, which saves time and makes sure that the user that creates that preset knows that it's correct for everyone that's using it. So that way you don't end up with faulty presets that cause problems later down the road. So with that said, we'll exit out of that and go back into our jobs window here, and then the three dots next to our server here will give us the option to open Device Center. So once we are in Device Center, you have sort of the back end of what Fiery looks like. So you'll have a general info here of what everything is going on this Fiery, and then to the left here we have all of our tools that we have to use here. So for this training, we're going to cover the paper catalog and job presets. So like I said earlier, you have your IP address as well as just information on your Fiery server here. You have what options and packages you have installed to the right, and you have the ability to uninstall them or add them in if you need to. So if we're resetting anything Command Workstation and they have any advanced packages on here, it's always good to uninstall and reinstall just so they don't lose that license. So to the left here, we're going to go into Paper Catalog. So this is going to give us all of our paper catalogs for the 5200 in this case. So you have the ability to create paper catalogs in here through Add New, and then that will just walk you through steps, as well as the ability to import and export your paper catalogs, or certain papers in particular. So it's always good once a customer has a working base of papers to export them and save them somewhere on the desktop. Just in case the Fiery ever crashes or anything happens to it, you have those catalogs backed up for them, especially because things can change for them and they might forget what paper catalogs they had, or if things need to be updated, anything like that. It's always good to have a backup of your catalogs just saved to them so they can always import and export them. And then lastly, we're going to look at job presets here. So when you go into job presets, you will see we have all of the server presets that I talked about earlier in here. So on Mac and I believe Windows, you have the ability to set defaults through the screen for the Fiery, as well as create a new server preset, which is going to pop up your Properties tab like we saw earlier, and you can just follow the same steps to create a server preset from there. And once again, that's going to go out to everyone that ties to the Fiery server with that device. So that covers everything for the Fiery Command Workstation Basic Guide. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or give me a call or just ask. If anything comes up, I'm here to answer and help. Otherwise, I will be hosting another advanced color training later down the road if you're interested in that. Have a good one.